Thanks for joining me today. It is New Year's Eve. I've not done a post since Christmas Eve. I hope everyone's had a nice Christmas. I thought today, just to finish the year off, I would do my top 9 makes for 2022. So I picked these based on, I went through my Instagram post for the year, my sewing related Instagram posts, and I took the 9 posts that had the most likes. And because I've only been running this channel since October, a lot of them, there are some that you'll have heard me talk about before, but a lot of them are new to you. So things that I will have posted about if you've seen my Instagram, but that I won't have spoken about on this channel yet. So first up, we have my most popular, my most liked post of this year, which is of this picture. The pattern is by Papercut Patterns. It's called Estella, and it's either the Estella dress or there's also an option which is like a 2-piece. So that's what I've made here. And there are lots of really cool things about this pattern. So it's actually reversible. So the view of this picture, which is the really liked picture, was the top on sort of backwards. So basically the skirt is really, really straightforward. It's elasticated waist. It's just like a sort of straight cut skirt with a ruffled here. So that's really, really easy. The top, you can either wear it as a wrap top, so where you tie a bow at the back and you get this nice wrap. So I'll put a picture of that here. Or you can turn it around and you can either then wrap it all the way around the other way. So you have a high neck at the front and then a bow at the front. Or you can do this low tie. So the most popular picture was the one where I wore it with the high neck at the front and then just a low tie at the back. So you get a nice deep V at the back. And then you can reverse that and have it tied in a bow, just a straight bow at the front. But again, that is quite, for me, it was like very low cut. So I feel like I might wear it like that, say on the beach or something, but I probably wouldn't go around with it just tied in the bow at the front just because it was like a lot of boobage. So yeah, so the pattern comes in 2 different size bands, the 6 to 20 or 16 to 34. As I've said, it comes as a 2-piece or as a dress. I've not made the dress yet, and actually looking at this picture, I've been like, I need to make the dress version of this, which is also reversible. It was a really fun pattern to sew. The fabric was gifted to me by Minerva.com. It is a cotton gingham in purple. You can't massively see in the picture that it's purple, but it's sort of like a dark purple gingham. And it just, like the insides looked really neat. It came together, it held the structure nicely. The one alteration I need to make is that when I wear the wrap version, the neckline comes a bit low. I have a very sort of hot and cold relationship with wraps, and I feel like maybe I should try and sort that out this year, where basically I just find the fitting of them, I know it technically should be easier, but I often find they gape. So I think I need to play around with either sizing down and then doing FBAs, or just working out how to take like a pinch out of the neckline. Because it doesn't matter how I tie it, it's still just a bit too low for me to happily wear it regularly. So yeah, but that was my most liked post. It is the second Papercut Patterns pattern that I've ever made. The year before I made my Nova coat, which I absolutely loved. And again, looking through the Papercut Patterns website today, I was thinking, I really love these patterns. So I think I'm going to make another Estella this year, but I might also just have a look at a couple of their other patterns, because so far 2 out of 2 I've absolutely loved. So that was my most liked post. Okay, my second post. So there's only one pattern that appeared twice on my most liked, my top 9 posts. And this is the first appearance of that. So this is a dress called the Belle Dress, which is by Stylark. And I made this as part of a collab with Crystal at my social thread. So if you have a look, she made a really nice Belle dress as well. And basically what I'd heard before making this was that the pattern was really nice. I'd seen some lovely versions, but that with Stylark, their instructions are like not massively clear. but the drafting I heard was very good. And especially I think with when patterns are extended into plus sizes, sometimes the drafting is great, sometimes the drafting's a bit off. So when you've got a series of sort of people who are fitting into the extended size range who were saying, yeah, the drafting's really good, I just thought I've got to do it. And there are so many elements I love about this pattern. So it's got like some of the interesting features. It has options of having shirring halfway down the sleeves. Now this version of the dress I made does not have that because of the fabric, which I'll talk about a bit later. But the second appearance of this dress in my top 9 does have the shirring in the sleeves. So I'll come back to that. There's also a sheared panel in the back, which obviously makes the fit better, a bit more cinched. There's a nice like double waist yoke, which I think is really neat, and that buttons up at the front. Again, I think I could raise the neckline a little bit. I tend to stitch, when I've worn this one, I wore this dress to a wedding and I stitched it together a bit at the top, which I just then like broke the stitch at the end of the night. It has inseam pockets. Is there anything else I've not mentioned? I don't think so. So yeah, it's just, I find it a really flattering pattern. The fit I think is really nice and it's just super wearable. Like I think this is my favourite pattern I've ever made. There are things in the construction that, so you have to do the what's called the burrito method and stuff like that, and I just feel like the way it's explained might not make sense if you've not done it before. So yeah, it's definitely not a beginner. I mean, I found my way through it, so I didn't find it really complicated, but I think if you didn't have a basic idea of construction, you might just get a bit lost. The fabric is, for this one, is it was from Rainbow Fabrics. It's a crinkle viscose, so it's got this nice texture, but it was a bit of a pain to work with. So there's a lot of give because of the crinkle, obviously, but it just slipped all over the place, and trying to draw the lines on to get the shearing in the, I don't know if it's shearing or sharing. I hope people say different things. I don't know. But to get the lines straight was just an absolute nightmare in this fabric. So I just gave up and I cut the sleeves the same, but I just elasticated them at the waist and had sort of these more balloony sleeves. As I said, when the bell comes up again later in this video, you will see what it looks like with the sheared sleeves, which I really loved. Like, I actually preferred my second Belle dress to this one, even though, and the pictures of my second one were so much better, but it's just, you know, on Instagram, people like what they like, right? And other things come into it. So that was that. Now, my third most liked make of the year was this dress, which I made for my friend's wedding. And this was my first, prior to my Vivian Coat, this was my first sort of slow project. So I documented a bit on my Instagram as I went. I just took my time. So I used the main fabric you see is a cotton lace from Fabric Godmother, which was great to work with. It was my first time having worked with lace. And then I used a cotton poplin for the sort of underlay fabric of the dress, which was it was probably a little bit more heavy than I would have liked, but it like held the structure maybe a bit more than I would have liked, but it actually worked for the dress on the day. I think it looked nice. It just maybe felt a bit less like delicate than it could have done. But yeah, so this was a big learning curve for me. So I used the Upton dress pattern, which is like this great sort of base pattern that Cashmere have made, which has loads of variations. So there's either a darted bodice or a bodice with princess seams. There are loads of different necklines, loads of different sleeve options. The skirts, I think initially there was like there was a pleated skirt, and then maybe is it a gathered skirt or a circle skirt, maybe, I can't remember. But there are lots of different options. So basically there are so many variations that you can really make it your own. It comes in both band sizes, so 0 to 16 and 12 to 32, I think it is, and in cup sizes C to H. I made darted bodice with square neck, and then I adapted the sleeves. I basically they have some shorter puff sleeves and I just lengthened those basically. I drafted the skirt myself because I was running out of lace and I didn't have enough lace to make any of the variations of skirt in their version, and I didn't want to mix it with anything else, and there was no more of the lace available. So I just drafted a very basic skirt, which I was quite happy with, so it made the silhouette quite sleek. And then there were lots of little things that there was a zip, a back invisible zip, which broke when, luckily, at the end of the night. So when I was back at the hotel, they undid the zip at the back and the zip just broke, and I just thought, It was so stressful putting that zip in. I just haven't, it's still actually sat on my pile of things to fix, so I need to fix the zip. But generally, what I really enjoyed was I enjoyed trimming, so like around the neckline, I really enjoyed trimming the lace. I did some applique on the waist, so I decided in the end to have the lace from the bodice sort of hanging loose, and then I did some applique. You always read these things, and then when you say them out loud, you're like, I don't know what I'm saying. So I went up under that, so there's sort of a almost like a crop version, and then the other lace, the applique, goes underneath that, so that you have sort of continuous line. And then I also had, I sort of trimmed around the lace at the bottom of the hem, so that you can see, obviously the underlay skirt is a lot shorter than the main skirt, so you get to really enjoy the lace there. I have to say, it was a labour of love. There were obviously, the main thing that was tricky, obviously sewing with the lace is tough, but I ended up finding that if you sew the seams with thin strips of tulle along the seam line, it sews like a dream. And also doing the darts was tricky. I found a video on how to sew darts. Oh, it wasn't actually a video, I lie. It was Cashmere had a feature because of their, what pattern was it? It might be the Montrose top. They have a version that involves sewing with lace or tulle fabrics, and they had something about how to sew the darts, because obviously you don't want the darts to be so visible, which they are through a fabric like that. So basically you end up cutting it, and I hand stitched the darts. I did a lot more. This is my first project where I did a lot of hand stitching, but I've got to say, I was really pleased with it in the end. It's the first thing where I'd really, like, I was happy with the fit. I worked to get, I mean, Cashmere patterns, obviously they build in for the fit as well. They have cup sizes and everything. I had to make some adjustments in the shoulders, like narrow shoulder adjustment. But generally I was really, really pleased. I was very proud of how that turned out, because I felt like this is something really special, and I made it myself. And I was patient, and there were times when it actually seemed like it was going to be a mess, but it all turned out well in the end. But yes, the reason there aren't more pictures are because the next day I couldn't wear it for pictures because the zip was broken. So, but maybe I'll wear it to another wedding in the future once I fix the zip, don't know. Okay, so then my fourth is my second Belle dress. So here are some pictures of it. Now this is actually my favourite Belle dress. I prefer this to the one that was actually more popular. This was one of my projects for Jenny Stitches. Oh, I should also say the Estella, the fabric was gifted by Minerva as part of their Minerva Brand Ambassador programme. The other two fabrics I bought myself. So this one was part of my second or third Jenny Stitches blog post. So everything for it was gifted by the lovely Jenny. And you can see, I'll put up some pictures. My friend, I was in France doing an opera contract, and one of my castmates was a really amazing photographer, and she took some very beautiful photos of this, including some details. So the shirring on the sleeves, I think, sat really nicely. Obviously the volume you get with a slightly stiffer fabric worked for all of those different features. So this is a broderie anglaise. I use these very sweet little wooden etched buttons as well. I just felt like this felt really well made, and the fabric had enough. It didn't feel like heavy, but it just had enough structure that it felt very like, it just felt very good quality. And Jenny Stitches has such reasonable prices. I shopped there before I was a blogger for the blogger team, but the prices are really good. I think this was like £7 a metre or something. It was like really, really reasonably priced, and it's really lovely. I think they had it in black as well at the time. I'm not sure what they've got now. Obviously it's not really the season for broderie anglaise, but yeah, this is another one of those dresses that I was just really proud of. I thought it came out really nice, and I'm looking forward to it being summer again, so I can find time to wear it. So I think there'll definitely be more Belle dresses this year as well. They just take, I tend to keep going back to things like I don't know, like Tamsin or like Lotta, or things that are quick to sew. But actually some of and I love those patterns, but it's like the Belle dress, it takes a little bit more work, but it's really satisfying. The silhouette is so gorgeous. I just love it. So yeah, so that was number 4. Number 5 was another Jenny Stitches. So this is actually my first Jenny Stitches blog project. So this is a Cashmere all-cot dress, which is a lovely sort of wrap style jersey dress. It's a faux wrap, so it looks like a wrap, but it's actually fixed. And the really good thing about this one is there's elastic in the neckline. So again, I was a little bit iffy about how to get the crisscross neckline to fit, but they have elastic, and it means it just like is glued. So you get a really nice, and I feel like the coverage is good, so like I could wear it for work without feeling too much like the boobs are out. So yeah, I've actually made another one of these, which I just need to hem in just plain green, because it's just very wearable. It comes with 2 different skirt lengths. Both times I've made the shorter skirt length, there's an option to add like a ruffled here, and also with the sleeves, there are sort of these flutter sleeves, but you can also do longer sleeves, which then have like a little flutter cuff on the end. I don't know what this was, fluttering. So yeah, comes in sizes 12 to 32. So I think it's only in their original size range. I don't think it's been extended into their smaller size range yet. And the fabric was gifted by Jenny Stitches and is like a sort of tiger print cotton jersey. If you are new to sewing with jersey or stretch fabrics, cotton jersey is the way forward. It's normally more expensive. I made a mistake when I think I first sewed jersey. I used viscose jersey, which is a bit cheaper, but it's more difficult to work with because it's obviously drapier, and it's just a little slinkier normally. Whereas cotton jersey just has more structure, much easier to work with. And again, it just feels, I think a lot of things you'd buy in the shops that are jersey are often a viscose jersey. And I find cotton jersey just feels like better quality because it just has a bit more weight. So yeah, it's a great dress as well, very wearable. The next is a pattern I've talked about a few times before, Tamsin, which is by hand. Sorry, Nala's just trying to get into the room. No, Nala, no. So she keeps trying to throw her ball at me, but I'm just trying to leave her out there. The Tamsin dress by Hand London. So I've made this dress loads and loads of times. This year I made one iteration, which was in red gingham fabric. And again, my photographs from when I was singing in France, my amazing photographer friend. So I think a lot of the likes were because she took great photos. But this is a fab pattern. It comes in 2 size bands, 6 to 24 or 12 to 30. And it's got a square neck. It's got different options for the tie at the waist. So you can either have it so the ties are thicker and they start in the seams at the front of the bodice and go around to the back, or you have them where they come in out of the sort of back side seams and then tie up in a little bow at the back. So you've got 2 options for that. And then the main feature of this, oh, and it has exposed interfacing on the neckline as well. That's another cute little feature. But the main feature I think that makes this dress a bit wow are the what they call tucks that you have in the sleeves and in the skirt. And I've made versions with and without, but the tucks are really nice. And they're great to sew in a gingham fabric because obviously it's very easy to keep a straight line. I've made at least 2 of these in gingham now. And yeah, so the red one was my latest version of that. And again, it's just a very wearable, nice summer dress. I bought that fabric when I first started sewing. So it's from Minerva, I think, but it was not gifted. Okay, so we're down to the final 3. Now, the next one you're aware of because you've been through this whole saga with me. So my next most liked post for 2022 was the Vivian Coat. I won't go on about this for too long because, like, I'm assuming most people watching this will have watched some of my other videos and so will have seen the start. They've heard plenty about this coat. But it's from Sew Over It's Vintage Dreaming ebook, which I think has like 5 patterns, all of a vintage style of dresses. I think there's a pair of trousers. A lot of the dresses can be made as blouses, and then the coat is the final pattern in that collection. And it's been designed to fit nicely over sort of that fit and flare style, and also over, if you're someone who wears a lot of midi skirts, it's like shorter coats can look a bit weird over the top with the skirt like poking out the bottom. So it's made to fit nicely over those sort of dresses. It has well pockets. It has 2 options for the waist ties. You can either just do like a wrap belt thing, or there's a back waist belt which just like nips it in a little bit at the back waist. It's lined. There are some tailoring techniques, so you use tailors interfacing. There's quite a lot of hand sewing, and there are like shoulder pads and wadding. I still, at some point in the new year, I'm going to do a video on the coat specifically because I think it just could have its whole own video, and I think I would have found a video on it useful when I first started sewing it. So oh, there's a back vent as well at the bottom. So this was my second long project of the year. So the Upton dress, the green lace dress, was my first like longer project, and this was my second longer sort of slow sew project, and I learned loads on both of those projects. It's like I took my time, and there were times when I was like, why have I not made something more simple. But I actually learnt a lot, and I've ended up with garments that I'm really proud of. So I think it's worth it in the end. And I'm going to think for this coming year, I think the main sort of slow sew things will be related to the wedding. Again, I'll talk about this probably in different posts, but I'm trying not to overload myself. When we first got engaged, it was like, I'm going to make this and this and this and this and this. And actually, I want to keep it quite low key because I want to, there's enough to stress about without panic sewing favours for 150 guests. Do you know what I mean? So, or, yeah, stressing about sewing things at the last minute. So I'm actually probably I'm going to do a few little bits, but I'm not going to be sewing loads for the wedding. But I think most of the projects I take longer on will be at least linked to that this year. The fabric for this, so the boiled wool was gifted by Minerva for their brand ambassador project, and it's gorgeous. It's in a shade called Sangria, which sometimes photographs as more red and sometimes photographs as more pink. I would say on the website it looked more red than it looks in real life. I'd say it looks a bit more pink in real life, but it just sort of depends on the light. And the shade is gorgeous, really rich. So would definitely recommend Sangria. The lining is Fabric Godmother, which I bought myself at the Knitting and Stitching Show. I think it's called Cheating Hearts Sateen in rose. They have it in, I think it's in their sale actually at the moment, that fabric. Yeah, and they have it in 2 other colourways on the website. I think there's a yellow one, and I'm not sure. There used to be a green, but that's not the one that's on the website. Can't remember. Anyway, worth a look if you like it. And the buttons I bought in the Liberty store because I thought they were sort of vintagey and nice. They're not ideal coat buttons. I think the coat is a bit bulky for them. I've already had to sew a couple back on, but that might just be that I'm not very good at sewing on buttons. Don't know, but we'll see. If down the line it feels like it's not practical to keep those buttons, I'll just take them out and I'll put some heavier duty coat buttons in. We'll see. Okay, the next pattern is another one from Sew Over It. So I made 3 Sew Over It patterns this year, and 2 of them made them on, and they're both coats. So this is the Dorothy Jacket. The fabric for this was gifted from Minerva.com for the Minerva Brand Ambassador Programme, and it is a soft shell, which is sort of a water-resistant fabric on the outside, and then it's like fleecy on the inside. My first time working with it, but it was really easy to work with. I've always been a bit scared of working with something that I would class as being a more, I don't know if this is what a technical fabric is, but it feels more like a technical fabric. But it was actually very, very easy. Holds its shape, cuts well, doesn't fray. Yeah, would recommend. And you don't have to line it because it's already fleecy on the inside. So this comes in 2 size bands, 6 to 20 or 18 to 30. It has a drawstring waist. It has patch pockets on the front, press stud fastenings. They were a bit of a faff, I'm going to be honest. One of them's fallen. I had a bit of a nightmare because I bought a kit and then it turns out the tool wasn't quite the right size, and so some of them broke, and then it's been a drama. So I'm not biggest fan of press studs, but I do think maybe there's like, I just got to keep practicing the technique, I think. Some of them went in really well, but some of them didn't. I'm not really sure why. Anyway, yeah, so I'm really happy with this pattern. Again, it's very wearable. It's something I'm definitely going to use. I can't remember, I think the colourway was called Aubergine or something like that. But that's something that goes with a lot of what I wear. And yeah, Sew Over It have very clear instructions, I think. And I found the sizing, I've only made 2 of their coats and a wrap skirt. So obviously the sizing on the wrap skirt is flexible. But I found the sizing to be good so far. Like on the coats, I've been really happy with how they fit with no adjustments. So we'll see. I've got a few of their dress patterns, and obviously I've got the rest of the Vintage Dreaming ebook, and I've also got the summer one, which is where the Alba skirt is, which is the wrap skirt actually. So I need to try a few more of their patterns this year. I need to just have a little think, I think. But yeah, and then last up, we have my most colourful make 2022. So number 9 on my top 9, and that is the Wilder Gown by Friday Pattern Company in this crazy bright viscose, which is from the exclusive Minerva collection. I was a bit, when it turned up, it was so, I just kept very drawn to like very colourful, bright things. And sometimes I don't sort of think through like, how wearable is this? But actually, I mean, the dress is a lot, but I think it's a lot in a good way. It works really nicely. I think viscose always works well for a Wilder gown because it's so sort of, gives it so much movement and volume. And also I think because there aren't too many seams, I think it allows a loud fabric to sort of talk without too much complication. There are no darts or anything like that. So Yeah, I won't go on about this pattern too much because I've talked about it in previous videos. It comes from size extra small to 7X. It has a very modular design, so you can do lots of tiers, you can do fewer tiers. It sews up really quickly, so there's a lot of volume in the skirt, so that takes a long time to sort of finish the seams and everything. But other than that, putting it together is really simple. I think this year I want to do one that's in like maybe like a tulle or a net or a lace or something that's like see-through, where you wear a slip dress underneath, and do some nice French seams and stuff. That's something I've meant to do for a while, but I've just not got around to. I finished this, so every time I've made this pattern, I've finished it with a contrast ribbon rather than a tie, because I just like having that little pop. So yeah, that's it. Oh, that fabric was gifted as well from Minerva. So yeah, those are my top 9 posts for 2022. I've already finished, I was going to say my first item of 23, but it's still 2022, isn't it? So that's a lie. But it won't be getting posted for a while because it's my next Jenny Stitches project. And I sewed that up. I just finished it off today. Most of it I sewed up yesterday. And that is a heavily hacked version of the Stanton hoodie by Cashmere. I'll sort of explain on the blog post when it's all up and done what I've done with it, but I'm pleased. It's cozy. I think my main aesthetic for January is like cozy. I've done that. I'm going to do the Elliot sweater from Helen's Closet, which is in a sort of heavy knit fabric that I bought. I'm going to do my loungewear set in by Graziella sweatshirting. Was there something else cozy I was going to make? Can't remember, but cozy is what I'm thinking for the next month at least. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to try, and I've got a few vlogs that I want to make. I'm going to try and get a few recorded this first week of Jan, because I'm not fully back at work until the second week of Jan. So this seems like a good time. Yeah, anyway, thanks for tuning in. Happy New Year. Thanks for following. And if you enjoy these videos, please like and subscribe. And also maybe let me know, what's your favourite thing that you've made for 2022, or what are you planning to make for 2023? I'd love to know. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, and Happy New Year. I'll see you next time. All right, bye.